Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Rosen Rubini podcast, Making Sense of This World. My name is Manas Chavla, and as always, I'm really pleased to be joined by CEO and Head of Research, Brunello Rosa. Brunello, this week we're talking about new parties that may change the US and UK political landscape ahead of elections in both countries. I must say, though, these two potential new parties are very different kinds of new parties. Maybe let's start with what's happening in the United States. It seems like Elon Musk wants to start a new America party. What exactly led to this? How did this come about, and how successful might this be?
Well, we know that there was a bit of a fallout between Musk and Trump over the last few weeks. Effectively, since the approval of the Big Beautiful Bill and the end of Elon Musk tenure at Doge, and it is unclear whether this has been accelerated, in fact, by the approval of the bill. Now, the bill has gone up and down in the House and eventually has been finally approved after a passage at the Senate by the House last week. So Trump celebrated, of course, as a success, and to some extent it was, and it is a success for him. The implication for the Treasury are a bit less um, beautiful, if you want to use a Trumpian approach and language, because the Congressional Budget Office estimates that there will be an increase in deficit of around 4 trillion over the next 8 years, which goes straight against the attempt by the Doge of saving money. And by the way, the few hundred billions that have been found by Doge are dwarfed by this increase in deficit coming from the new spending or tax cuts decided by Trump. So the distance between what those try to achieve and what the bill implies cannot be more striking. So effectively, Musk continue its opposition and it took it to the extreme. So I said, that's it. Let's end this single party system. I'm gonna found my own party. After the, let's say, big poll on X suggesting that this is what they should be doing, and so that is what is going to do.
Yeah. What do you think the consequences of this might be? I mean, as you've noted before, Musk is not American born. He cannot run for president. From a political perspective, how does this change the American political landscape?
Well, first of all, uh, he is going to promote a plan that he thinks is going to be centrist, which means he wants to put himself at the center of the political spectrum rather than at the far right, so to speak. Although he has been helping far right movements across Europe, for example, and across the world, he probably wants to foster innovation, technological advancement, and stuff like that. Now, why does he want to do that? Because, of course, if he cannot run for president, he needs to find some political space wherever is available, and that might be at the center. So, getting votes from moderate or more moderate Republicans and potentially some disillusioned Democrats. He's not going to run for president, which means the only chance of making a difference is going to be by having effectively parliamentarians. The Senate is going to be extremely hard, but at the House, he may scoop up some districts and potentially becoming the kind of casting, the casting vote. Already at the Senate, the BBB passed with a 50-50 majority, and JD Vance had to break the tie by voting himself, something that generally doesn't happen because he is the president, of course, the Speaker of the Senate.
Yeah.
So, to some extent, I think this is going to be the strategy. Try to influence politics by, to some extent, changing the balance of voting in the House, and if he managed with one or two seats in the Senate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's look at the United Kingdom? Because there's been press reports about the attention of Jeremy Corbyn and others to form a party. What is leading to this, and what might the consequences be?
So here is more or less the same story. Uh, uh, Jeremy Corbyn, as you know, was the leader of the Labour Party, was eventually kicked out by Starmer for his position to extreme anti-Semitism, never was completely eliminated under him, and so on and so forth. And in spite of this, he ran again in his own constituency and he won his own seat. So he's back in parliament. And then the opposition to the Labour policies is obvious and is finding some comfort in the opposition from within the Labour Party, from MPs that believe that Jeremy Corbyn is adopting policies that are too centrist to some extent and not favoring enough the lower end of the income distribution. So he probably wants to form an extreme leftist party, and again, trying to influence politics by influence policies, so pushing policies more towards the radical left, to some extent mirroring what Reform is doing to the
Mm,
right. Um, is he going to be successful? Well, some polls suggest that he can have up to 10%. He can steal up to 10% of Keir Starmer's Labour Party vote. And that could be enough, for example, for Labour to lose in some constituencies.
mm,
Now, is it this good news? Well, it depends how you perceive things, but definitely Corbyn is the one that led Labour Party to the most catastrophic defeat in 85 years in 2019 when Boris Johnson won by a landslide, and is also the one that lost against um, Theresa May, and of course, one of the key architects of the victory of the Brexit referendum, because it never positioned Labour in fully into the Remain camp. It kind of left some form of freedom of choosing whatever, which was effectively what changed the equilibrium at that point. So, will Jeremy Corbyn achieve the goal of making Starmer lose power in 3, 4 years from now? I mean, it's probably working hard to make sure this happens. We'll see what will happen in the future. It's still quite some time away.
yeah. But whether he does it in a way to potentially, split the vote with the left and give room for reform to win in the next election as they've been, being catapulted through the polls, that might well happen. Uh, and is another strong possibility. As always, Murnell, this is something we'll continue to watch for, well, the weeks and months ahead. Thank you so much for your time and insight.
Thank you very much. Until next time.